A number of different news sites have just reported on the fact that the Mustang Mach-E sales have, well, gone pretty much through the roof. Kudos to Ford. This is a big achievement. But there is one problem that nobody has mentioned. It's a very serious problem. I think Ford could be in a bit of trouble with the Mustang Mach-E. Now, I like the car, but there's one glaring thing that's going to stop it from selling next year. So this impressive run from Ford this year, well, I think the brakes are going to be slammed on pretty soon. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm the Electric Viking. Great to see you. My name's Sam Evans and I'm coming to you from Melbourne in Australia. Wonderful to have all your new subscribers here. If you're new to the channel, make sure you check out some of the 2,000 plus videos we've made over the last 18 months showing you the transition of the industry. It doesn't just, of course, involve Tesla. There's a lot more happening than that. Not many people are aware of the fact that 60% of the world's EVs are sold right now in China. And a lot of those Chinese automakers are looking to take over the automotive industry. It's the biggest industry in the world. It's being disrupted right now. The Japanese are in trouble. Europeans are in trouble. America, I think, is a little bit safer than those places. I mean, look at it. They're not being disrupted in America right now. I mean, you're being disrupted by Tesla, but that's an American company. Whereas, I mean, look at Europe. I mean, BYD just got a sale yesterday, 100,000 electric cars to a German rental car company. None of those sales went to German brands. Same thing is going on. I mean, Tesla's got a big plant. They're expanding that plant in Germany. Disruption is happening right now all over Europe. You've got multiple brands. There's actually about 7 different Chinese electric car brands selling EVs now all over Europe in multiple countries. That has got to be a concern. And of course, the same thing is happening in China. Not many people are aware of the fact that Volkswagen, for example, makes more money in China than it does in Europe. That's true. Or it used to be true anyway. It was last year. This year, probably not. Same thing's happening to legacy manufacturers who sell vehicles in China. China is the biggest auto market in the world, right? It's the biggest in the world. And it's going to be the first to be basically completely disrupted by Chinese brands, Chinese automakers, and by Tesla. And that is a big problem if you are Toyota or if you are Volkswagen or General Motors. I mean, look at General Motors and Ford sales in China this year. They are pretty terrible. They're down by 50%. 50%. That is a big loss. GM has a plan to deal with this. They're trying to sell expensive vehicles to, I don't know, cashed up Chinese. Whether that works, I don't know, but I don't think it will. That said, fortunately, GM sales are up in the US. So are Ford's. No, they're not. Ford sales are down by 10%, in fact, in the third quarter of this year. 10%. The media is saying it's about 8.8%, but the reality is that's only because their EV sales are up. Their EV sales are up like 150%. That's fantastic. But unfortunately, Ford has admitted, in fact, Ford CEO Jim Farley has admitted they make a loss on those cars. So if Ford suddenly was able to produce, 50% of their cars were EVs, that wouldn't actually be a good thing. It would be good for you guys, good for the market, be good for buyers, but it wouldn't be good for Ford because they would be losing a lot of money, too much money. I mean, you can only sell so many loss leaders, right? Loss leader is a terminology for marketing where you make a loss, but you market a product and you market the brand. So you become known as an EV brand. That's what Ford wants to do. But if they sell too many Mustang Mach-E's, that's a problem. Now, this isn't the biggest problem though. And I'll get to that in a second. Ford actually announced their sales statistics for September. It's clear that the brand's EV sales are outgrowing its ICE offerings. Well, not outgrowing in terms of percentage of growth. Of course, percentage growth with their gas vehicles is, well, it's down pretty significantly. EVs, completely different story. Farley has mentioned many times he's shocked by the demand for EVs. Now, why he's shocked, I don't know. Think about this. In 2017, Tesla had 400,000 pre-orders for the Model 3. 400,000. Why would any legacy automaker be shocked to see demand for EVs? It doesn't add up. I don't understand it. Anyhow, as anticipated and announced by Ford, sales in September were significantly impacted by inflationary issues. They had a $1 billion excess parts cost that they didn't expect and supply shortages. I mean, Ford doesn't make their own Ford badges, so they've got lots of vehicles sitting in dealerships without badges right now. However, these problems seem to have affected ICE and gasoline-powered vehicles more so than their electric vehicles, which is great for consumers. which saw yet another month of staggering growth compared to their shrinking gasoline-powered sales. Tesla already said that Ford's September sales were down by 9% compared to last year's sales. Last year was a bad year as well for Ford, so down again. Yeah, it could be worse. It could be Honda, where your sales have been completely decimated in the US and you're losing market share at a pace of, I don't know, but the pace is absolutely crazy. If you're Honda right now, you've got to be literally weeing in your pants. It's so bad for you in the US and other countries, like China as well, same problem. Honda, yeah, they're in big trouble. So, at least Ford are not Honda. There's that. Now, Ford's EV sales grew by 197% in September. 197%. A huge boost that means that they now control 7% of the EV market in the United States. That's up 3.1% compared to the same time last year. This allows Ford to hold second place EV title for another month. So Ford's clearly, well and truly, the second largest EV manufacturer right now in the United States. And obviously, General Motors wouldn't be too happy about that because they claim they're leading the world on EVs. Ford's EVs were the stars of their sales report. The Ford F-150 Lightning and the Mustang Mach-E were some of the brand's fastest selling vehicles, flipping in 8 days and 10 days on dealer lots, but that's not really true. The media is saying 8 days and 10 days. The truth is, Ford has a backlog for these cars. So they're not sitting on dealer lots. Sorry to tell you that. It's unlikely you're going to see one in a dealer lot. That's just how long it takes for Ford to get the car to the dealership, wash it in the dealership, and then make their markup and deliver it to the customer. The F-150 Lightning sold 1,918, or they delivered 1,918 in September, and they've now delivered 8,760 units year to date. So they've got a backlog of, 300,000, maybe more. The Mustang Mach-E sold even more, or delivered even more, 2,324 in September and 28,000 units year to date. So you can see September was a significantly down month. If you look at that overall number, 28,000 year to date, that's a lot more if you look at the 2,324 in September. So that was a down month for them, but it's still a 47% increase from September last year and a 49% increase in year-to-date sales compared to 2021. Ford E-Transit dominated the electric van market, but that doesn't really mean much. They only sold 400 of them. I mean, that's good, 400, and it's a good start. They are the first mover here. That's what probably matters the most, first mover. A lot of commercial buyers will be aware that Ford has an EV. They'll go, yep, okay, that's what I'm going to have to buy. I think that's probably a bigger deal than what people realize. Sales of the Bronco, they're down significantly by 20.7%. Ford Edge down 17.7%. So yeah, you can see that gas sales are struggling. But here is the biggest issue in my opinion. Remember that American-made manufacturer survey? When that company, Cars.com, actually went and looked at the most American-made cars, and none of the top 10 were Fords, except there was one Lincoln model, which they sell like 5 of them a year or something like that because only a couple of granddads in America buy them. Anyhow, my point is, right, the Mustang Mach-E, it's not made in America. And therefore, it won't qualify for the federal tax credit, which kicks in for Tesla and, well, everyone else who makes EVs in the US in January next year, right? Ford's Mach-E sales are very important to the brand. But up until now, Ford has had a $7,500 advantage over Tesla, right? People who buy a Ford, a Mach-E, they get the $7,500 tax credit. People who buy a Tesla don't get it. But that will reverse. That will flip on its head by January next year. When Model Y and Model 3, actually Model X and Model S, I don't believe will qualify. So Model Y and Model 3 buyers will get that credit. However, it may not apply to the Mach-E because it's made in Mexico. And in fact, the majority of the parts don't come from the US. Very few of them do, in fact. Now, Ford is stating they want to ramp production of the Mach-E to 200,000 units annually by 2023. They're saying they want to manufacture 200,000 Mach-E's next year. Where are they going to be made, right? Well, we know Ford does have their plants, their massive plant they're working on in Chattanooga, or wherever it is, Tennessee or something or other. Their university for EVs. It's this massive sprawling complex. It's enormous. It's awesome. Billions and billions of dollars. I think about $7 billion will go into that plant. They will make Mach-E's eventually. That's not going to be built for years. So what will happen in the meantime when Ford's competition, meaning Tesla and eventually General Motors, when they make their EVs in the US, which I believe they will begin to ramp up manufacturing their EVs in the US next year. And there's, of course, other brands that have announced making EVs in the US as well. What will happen when Ford doesn't qualify? Ford's buyers don't qualify for the incentives, right? And Tesla in particular does. This will have to affect the brand, surely. Now, how much it will affect the brand, I don't know. But what I want to know is what you think. What do you think is going to happen to Ford's electric vehicle sales? Do you think it was a mistake investing in this factory? Because here's the thing, right? This factory, it's sort of become like a noose around Ford's neck because they've invested a lot of money. I'm going to guess, I don't know exactly how much, no one knows really how much, but I'm going to guess they probably invested $1 billion into this factory. Seems like a fair figure to produce Mustang Mach-E's. Now, they had to train the staff there in Mexico, right? They had to train them how to build these vehicles. They had to kit out this entire factory. But what happens when these incentives mean it doesn't make sense to make the vehicles in Mexico anymore? It's basically like having a gasoline-powered vehicle factory in the US, which when no one wants gasoline-powered vehicles, I mean, at some point in time, they have to cut their losses and say, you know what? These tax credits are too valuable for us. It's going to be an enormous amount of money, right? It's not just that credit. It's also the stuff that's going into the battery credits and everything else. Can they keep on making them in Mexico and be competitive when they won't qualify anymore for all these incentives? That's my question. What's going to happen there? Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.